A very warm welcome to you at home. I am Musam Khalipi and this is Afroshowbiz News, the show that brings you all things art and entertainment from around Africa. Now, to keep in touch, feel free to email us at afroshowbiznews@sabc.co.za. Also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @AfroShowbizNews. Let's have a look at stories making headlines this week. The third annual eThekwini Fashion Show is underway. The annual Namaqua Festival is cancelled. And Mango Groove performs at Women's Day event. Fashionistas, international fashion designers, as well as established and emerging designers have gathered at the eThekwini municipality for the third annual Durban Fashion Fair taking place at the Inkosi Albert Luthuli International Convention Center. It started on Thursday and will end on Sunday. The DFF is one of the most successful fashion programs in the country, which incorporates fashion development and exhibitions. It also includes 60 fashion shows that empower and encourage the culture of entrepreneurship among established and local young designers. Since its inception, the city of Durban has sent a group of designers on an internship program in Milan, the fashion capital of the world. It has also produced over 100 successful young designers. Over 10 million rands has been invested into the fashion development initiatives and programs that include business management training, fashion shows, mentorship, and international fashion internship by the city of Durban. This year's program will include, but not limited to, designers such as Terence Bray, Tula Cindy, Colleen Aitzen, Catherine Kidja, Pulse and Amos EDC. At this year's fashion fair, there will be pop-up shops with over 50 exhibitors showcasing their products throughout the 4 days of exhibition. Workshops conducted by fashion guru Dion Chang also took place on Friday. At this year's fashion fair, there was a pop-up shop with over 50 exhibitors showcasing their products throughout the 4 days of the exhibition. Workshops were conducted by Dion Chang, who shared his expertise on fashion. An Egyptian puppeteer is using his wooden belly dancing marionette to show there is more to the dance form rather than seduction. The Cairo-based puppeteer and marionette maker hopes his wooden creations will bring back the sophisticated side of the art of belly dancing. Ahmed Naeem's relationship with puppets began in 2006 when he started working at the Sawi Culture Wheel in Cairo's Zamalek district, where occasional marionette shows are held. But it was after a workshop in London that Naeem became interested in moving strings and wooden marionettes. Audience demand led him to create his wooden belly dancer, Zizi. Zizi doesn't just dance but is also famous for her interaction with the audience. His shows create a sophisticated sense of comedy free of indecency.
What I'm trying to say is, yes, there's a sexy and seductive side to belly dancing, but there's also an artistic and sophisticated side. Why don't people look at that side? What I'm trying to do is make people really see that the belly dancer should not be all about seduction only, but can also do other things.
Another Cairo marionette artist, Mohamed Fazi Bakar, began his work with puppets in 2005. For Bakar, the artist's appreciation for Egyptian culture was why they chose to create a belly dancer who dances to Oriental music. He said if you look closely at the features of Zizi, you see she looks a bit like the pharaonic, especially her hair.
Of course, we consider these dolls our children. That's why we are the ones who play them, and we're the ones who make them. And we're the ones who design them too. We can't just leave them with anyone, just like how a mother treats a young child.
The origins of belly dancing are unclear, but its history in Egypt goes back to the 18th and 19th centuries, where dancers were known as wawazi. The dance has evolved beyond the artistic moves and has taken on a social aura revolving around special outfits, stage appearance, and in many cases sexual appeal, taking away from the essence of the dance moves themselves. On Monday, a public meeting in Houghton, Johannesburg was held and attended by producers, directors and filmmakers. The aim of the meeting was to better understand the rights of users and creators under copyright laws within the documentary industry. Now, to talk to us about what transpired at the meeting, we are joined in studio by Debucho Peterson, chairperson of the Documentary Film Association. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming to Bucho.
Cool.
Now, you had a meeting earlier in the week. Tell us a bit about what transpired at this meeting.
Okay, cool. So we had a meeting between filmmakers, not just documentary filmmakers. It was just basically filmmakers, even in the fiction genre. The meeting was basically put together by SASFED, which is the South African Screen Federation, and the Documentary Filmmakers Association. And the meeting was also attended by international and local copyright experts. And basically, the meeting was to begin to unpack how documentary filmmakers and other filmmakers can begin to understand copyright, in order to better their work, in order to improve their work, in order to be able to access some of the beautiful archive material that we have here in South Africa,
Now, Deborah, why do you think it is that documentary and filmmakers find it hard, or rather don't understand the rights that they have?
Yeah. Well, we are creatives. You know what that's like, and we're busy. We just want to make creative products, and we just want to make our films. But when you start talking about law, it's a completely different ball game. So I guess it's quite intimidating. So kind of when you look at it and you think, am I allowed to use it? Is someone going to sue me? When you talk about law, people get scared. They go, is someone going to sue me just for using a clip of a clip that I really want to use for my film? So I think that's why documentary and filmmakers are intimidated by the idea of law, and how do you begin to understand your access and what your rights are when it comes to copyright.
Now, copyright is a broad subject, and speaking of simplifying and knowing, do you think that people now that attended the meeting are understanding it a bit more better now?
Definitely. We still have a lot of work to do. You're completely right in terms of talking about the fact that it intimidates people, and we didn't have as much documentary filmmakers as we would have liked at the meeting. So it's something that we need to continue doing, because it's really important that we get it out there, that people understand their rights when it comes to copyright, the users and the creators of material, because it's when they understand it that they can have confidence to say, okay, I can actually use that material, because when they don't have that confidence, they don't use it.
Now, when you look at the filmmakers and the documentary filmmakers, do you look at upcoming or established filmmakers, or is it just a general overall look at the industry?
No, I think both established and upcoming filmmakers have to have the confidence to use the material, but of course upcoming filmmakers will have less of an understanding of how copyright works, but I think even the established filmmakers still don't have a full understanding of how the copyright works, what material can they use. But as I say, because it's so intimidating, they just decide rather not to use it, because when you have the option to use that clip, but then you think someone's going to sue me, so you just don't use it at all. So it's kind of, all filmmakers have to understand.
All right. Now, from what I understand, that the copyright law is currently under review. What are you hoping to achieve once that whole review has been done?
Look, it's been a long kind of it's more than 2 years that it's been under review and so on. So and that copyright law doesn't actually cover what documentary filmmakers consider to be fair, in terms of it's not detailed enough to say what actually can we use for for users and for creators of copyright material. So what documentary filmmakers and what filmmakers have to do is create their own manual, so to speak, on what's fair in terms of using copyright and what's fair in terms of creating copyright material. So that's what we're hoping to achieve with this and with these conversations, is to create our own understanding, because that will be able to stand in the law in court, because we can patent it and we can create something that it's as a common practice, that what we can use all the time.
Like, we've been speaking about the fact that we need to help, filmmakers and documentary filmmakers, but who are the people that actually should be assisting them in knowing their rights?
Well, the Documentary Filmmakers Association and the South African Screen Federation. In fact, it's so interesting because the filmmakers are coming together and forming organized industry, and that's what Documentary Filmmakers is about, and that's what SASFED is about, and there's the WGSA, the Writers Guild of South Africa, and those associations are put there in order to help filmmakers, young filmmakers coming from film school, to experienced filmmakers, and to help them to network, but also to help them to be able to understand their rights, for example, and to be able to understand everything that will affect them, everything around that will affect them in creating content.
All right. Well, Tebogo, thank you so much for joining us, but that is where we'll have to wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Kalibas International Festival and Amateur Film kicked off celebrations for the 50th birthday last week, where films were shown from around the world. FIFAC was founded in 1964, screening both national and international films. Opening night saw performances on the beach by musicians before the screening of French film C'est bien d'être faux, meaning it's quite good been crazy, which is a collaboration between director Antoine Lapay and Franco-Algerian street artist Zoo Project, also known as Balil Bereni. President of FIFAC and the Federation of Amateur Cinema, Miriam Sardi, said over 1,000 spectators packed in Kaleba Outdoor Cinema to see the film.
The Federation and the festival's aim is to propose a suggestion of reality to the public, a cinematic art for all the people to make them conscious that anyone who has something to say could do so via film.
For the international competition, 36 films were shown from Lebanon, Brazil, Iran, Germany and beyond. A national competition runs simultaneously, showcasing works from Tunisian filmmakers. But for festival attendees, conditions for production in the country were still limited.
The conditions of film production in our cinema club are hard because in our cinema club we don't have the elementary needs for film production. We don't even have the power.
The festival also included roundtable discussions and reviews of previous film entries. This was the chance for beginner filmmakers to present their movies. We'll now go for a quick ad break, but do stay tuned for more.
SABC News, we've got Africa covered.
Welcome back. The annual Namaqua festival was set to kick off in October has been cancelled due to Steve Homer's alleged offensive racial comments. The Matsikama municipality in Cape Town requested that Hofmeyer be dropped from the program.
The Namaqua Music Festival attracts around 8,000 people and well-known South African artists. This year, it was set to take place in Vredendal, but has unfortunately been cancelled. It appears the festival was cancelled due to the involvement of the often controversial Afrikaans singer Steve Hofmeyer. According to some reports, an email on behalf of the Matsikama municipality was sent to event organizers requesting them to not let Hofmeyer take to the stage. The alleged email is said to have stated that Hofmeyer is well known for instigating racism through his songs and comments. Recently, the artist caused controversy with his Facebook post related to the singing of the current national anthem, Nkosisikelele Africa. The email went on to say that the municipality requests friendly yet serious that the organizers retract Hofmeyer's invitation to perform. Event organizer Luwile Kranse said he did not want to get involved in such politics and therefore decided to withdraw from the festival completely. There were about 20 artists who were also set to perform, but their performances were cancelled as well. Hofmeyer has since taken to Twitter to voice his opinion on the festival and his performance being cancelled. He tweeted, "The city council Lionel Phillips wanted to tell us what to do, but then we both withdrew. I'm getting legal advice. It is not yet clear if the festival will take place at a later date."
The FNB Joburg Art Fair started in Johannesburg on Friday at the Sandton Convention Centre and will end on Sunday. The event is an international art fair which focuses on contemporary art from the African continent and the diaspora.
This year, the fair is celebrating its 7th edition since its conception in 2007. It represents the only sustainable art fair on the African continent open to the international art scene. It has also hosted top international curators and directors from institutions like the Tate Modern and the Venice Biennale. Omenka, a Nigerian photographer, is the face of the Nigerian art, which will also be part of this fair in the second part of the event to take place in September. Other photographers from Nigeria include Jerin Nubia, Kelani Abbas, and Jefferson Johan as the representatives of Omenka Gallery. The fair has helped to build a solid base of buyers from South Africa and the continent. The fair is supported by Art Logic and welcomes international galleries to participate in the fair, and in particular those who have an interest or link to African contemporary art. Its aim is to keep the number of galleries low to ensure quality and excellent opportunities for galleries to recoup the costs of participating in the show. This year, the art fair has 4 dedicated categories for its exhibitors, including young galleries, arts platforms and special projects.
Documentary film titled Framed explores the Western society's fascination with saving Africa. The documentary is available online.
This is the most dangerous place.
Framed, a new documentary film in the making, takes a critical look at activism in Africa and the representation of AIDS recipients as victims. It investigates the West's relationship to Africa and questions why it doesn't focus its AIDS efforts on the local communities in the US.
My major problem with this video is that it simplifies the story of millions of people in northern Uganda. This video seems to say that the power lies in America, and it does not lie with my government, it does not lie with local initiatives on the ground. So I have a problem with that, because this is the same narrative we have seen about Africa for centuries.
The documentary features Kenyan photojournalist Boniface Mwangi, Kenyan writer Binyavanga Wainaina, and South African-born educator Zain Magubani, who ask a range of questions about the selling of suffering.
Like when they say save Darfur, what do you think that Darfur is being saved from?
Directed by Cassandra Hammond, the film examines the Western relationship to Africa and Africans, but it's also about how we create difference, how we unconsciously make some people more powerful and others weaker, how it's often easier to do that than to take a hard look at ourselves. This film was made to spark conversation and debate among students, educators, families, friends, and colleagues.
Writer Iko Duka, Ghanaian-born, is the author of Dying in New York, a book that explores stories of hope during the roughest of times. Now, to talk to us a bit more about this book, we're joined by Iko himself. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now, your book is mainly focused on Lerato's character, who succumbs abuse from a loved one. Tell us, why did you find it fitting to write about such a story?
Well, she's a wonderful character, and I believe that she will creep into your hearts and stay there. So the book Dying in New York, it's a book about child abuse as told by Lerato herself, and it's the story of her journey from South Africa to the United States, where she recounts her life to an elderly psychiatrist.
Now, what objectives did you have in mind when you were putting together the book?
Sure, that's a very good question. And the reason really comes from the society in which we live, where there's so much abuse against females. So I thought that I needed to say something about that, to get the message out there, to reinforce the message that something needs to be done.
Now, it is Women's Month, and the book was actually launched just last week. Why did you find it fitting to actually launch the book on Women's Month?
Well, for the reason, and I think that for the reason that being Women's Month and the story speaks very powerfully to the issues that face our women on a day-to-day basis. So I thought the timing was right.
Now, Iko, your story, the book focuses on hope. How are these highlighted in the book?
Sure. The theme of hope really comes through in Lerato herself. She's incredibly spunky, she's feisty, and despite all the problems and the tribulations and the abuse that she goes through, she never ever loses her hope.
Now, who do you think are the people that should actually read the book? Who's your book targeted for?
Oh, I think everybody should read the book. I think that men need to read the book. I think that women need to read the book. It's a deeply moving story, and I'm sure that many people will fall in love with the character.
Now, Iko, you're also a banker and a writer. How do you manage to juggle the two?
Look, that's a very good, that's a good question. And I believe that once you love something, as I love to write, you do make time for it. So I find the time. So I write at nights, I write at weekends, I steal a moment here and there to write.
Now, I understand putting together such a book couldn't have been that easy. What were maybe some of the challenges you faced when you were putting together Dying in New York?
It was actually quite emotional because the roller coaster ride that she goes through being abused by her father, by being let down by society at large, for me it was very emotional, so it was quite hard for me to write some of the scenes, yes.
Well, are there any other places that you're hoping to maybe to launch your book in the future?
Well, I'm hoping to make it onto the overseas market as well, because I sincerely believe that the story is a universal story.
All right, now Ika, what are you maybe currently working on right now besides, launching this book earlier this month? What are you currently working on, and what are you maybe hoping to work on in the future?
So next year I have a book that is set in South Africa 10 years hence, and it paints the picture of future South Africa through the eyes of a couple who fall in and out of love.
And then, when your readers read this book, what are you hoping that they will take away after reading this book?
Well, my sincere hope is that they will be moved, and I hope that men will take a message about the abuse that we inflict upon our women, and I hope that the women who read it will be encouraged, to stand up for their rights.
Now, Ika, this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is your second book.
Correct, yeah, this is my second book, yes.
Which authors maybe inspire you to actually write? Who do you find inspiration from?
One of the greatest writers who I really enjoy was an Englishman who died, I think, about 20 years ago. He was called Somerset Maugham, and he writes short stories that explore the theme of people speaking past each other, and that's something that I find very fascinating.
All right, well, Ika, it was a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you so much for talking to us about your book.
Thank you so much.
All right, that was Ika Juka talking to us about his book, Dying in New York. Today, we take a look at a book titled Here I Am by South African renowned musician PJ Powers. Here I Am is a story about the personal journey of one of South Africa's most beloved music icons, PJ Powers, or Thandeka, as she was affectionately renamed. It features a gallery of political leaders and international celebrities, including the likes of Nelson Mandela, Graça Machel, Chris Hani, Joaquim Chissano, Queen Elizabeth II, Brenda Fassie, Sharon Stone, and Robert De Niro. Here I Am, written by Mariama Tami, is an intimate account of the life and times of one of the country's most recognizable and enduring performers and how she rose to international stardom. From her struggle with alcohol, this is a must-read to explore, which features politics and music. You're still watching Afroshowbiz News. Now, if you've missed any of our shows, be sure to catch us on our YouTube channel by simply searching for Afroshowbiz News. Time now for another quick ad break. Don't go anywhere.
I dread hurting people through my findings and have them lose their jobs and livelihood. But I stand for what is right. We need a bolder vision where we're not going to be apologetic. We must be bullish and occupy the space that we believe exists for us. We salute women.
Welcome back. Mango Groove, Josie Field and Laurie Levine will this Sunday perform at the Walter Sisulu National Botanical Gardens in Roodepoort, West Rand. This is to celebrate South Africa's women, and the event starts at 1 o'clock.
The Botanical Gardens in Roodepoort will host the Kwela pop sounds of one of the country's most beloved bands with a string of #1 hit songs to their name. During the 1980s and 1990s,
The band was one of only two popular South African music groups with both black and white band members. Acclaimed singer and songwriters Josie Field and Laurie Levine will also perform for a varied acoustic set. The duo has won a Standard Bank Ovation Award at this year's National Arts Festival in Grahamstown. They will perform a range from bluesy vocal rock to folk-inspired country music at the Indigenous Gardens. One of the sponsors said in a statement that Women's Month gives them as sponsors pleasure to pay tribute to South African women with this special picnic concert.
The Nigerian film 30 Days in Atlanta has received 10 nominations for the third Golden Globe Icons Academic Awards to take place in Texas, USA in October this year.
The movie, which was shot in Nigeria and Atlanta, is a comedy that follows two cousins from Nigeria on an adventure in Atlanta. Produced by Nigerian comedian Ayo Makun, 30 Days in Atlanta is certainly giving the African film industry hope that more local productions can make it outside of the continent.
Welcome to America.
The nominations are the Best Film Indigenous, Best Film Comedy, Best On-Screen Duo, Best Actor, Best Comedic Act, Best Screenplay, Best Director, Producer of the Year, Best Cinematography, and a special recognition award for Hollywood's Lynn Whitfield, who also starred in the movie. The cast includes Ayo Makun, Ramsey Noah, Mercy Johnson, RMD, Desmond Elliott, Majid Michel, Juliet Ibrahim, Ada Amey, Rachel Oningo, Casey Jabari, and two American stars, Vivica Fox and Carly Red.
Don't bother. Your wife explained everything to me.
30 Days in Atlanta, The Adventures of Akpos.
Cinema Nouveau is currently showcasing the Erotic Art House Fest countrywide. It ends on the 5th of September.
Cinema Nouveau features 5 films as part of its Erotic Art House Fest, which runs until next month. The festival takes place at cinemas in Brooklyn Mall in Pretoria, Rosebank Mall in Johannesburg, Gateway in Durban, and the V&A Waterfront in Cape Town.
I'd like to meet your folks.
How's everything coming in there? Almost there, Ma.
The 5 films are Nymphomaniac 1 and Nymphomaniac 2, Venus in Fair, Lovelace, and The Kenyans. All feature explicit content of a sexual nature and are not suitable for viewers under the age of 18.
Is she actually doing that? Yeah, right. You see that? That is art.
The film Lovelace, directed by Rob Epstein and Jeffrey Friedman, tells the story of a porn actress, Linda Lovelace, who married young and was forced into performing in films by her abusive husband, Chuck Traynor. She rose to fame in the 70s following her appearance in Deep Throat, which to her dismay became popular with mainstream audiences. The film stars Amanda Seyfried, Hank Azaria, Adam Brody, James Franco, and Sharon Stone.
Man, I feel free.
We have now come to the end of our show, but Catch-Up repeats every Sunday at 2 a.m. and again at 1:30 p.m. It's been good from me and the rest of the team. It's thank you and goodbye.
A very warm welcome to News at 8. I'm Lulu Gabu. Let's take a look at news making headlines. A shootout at Guamashu Hostel in KwaZulu-Natal has led to the death of one man and the hospitalization of 2 others who were caught in the crossfire. Egypt brokered peace talks between Israel and Palestine have faltered, and as the violence continues, South African aid organization Gift of the Givers is preparing to go on a mercy mission to Gaza. And New Zealand have retained the Bledisloe Cup for a 12th consecutive year after beating Australia 51-20 in Auckland. Good evening. An attack at the Guamashu hostel last night has left 1 person dead. 2 are in a critical condition.